Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News Weekend. An Indigenous woman from Tuktoyaktuk, Northwest Territories, has launched a lawsuit against her doctor, who she says sterilized her without her consent. Her doctor has filed a claim of defense and denies the accusation. Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs has that story.
An Inuk woman has filed a $6 million lawsuit alleging she was sterilized without her consent. APTN is withholding the woman's name due to privacy concerns and reminds viewers that none of the allegations have been proven in court. The woman is seeking $1 million in punitive damages from Dr. Andrew Kataska, along with $5 million from his employer, the Northwest Territories Health and Social Services Authority, along with other special damages. In her statement of claim, she says she underwent surgery at Yellowknife Stanton Hospital in July 2019 to remove a cyst on her right ovary, which was causing her abdominal pain. The claim states, during the surgery, the anesthesiologist, Dr. John Save, noted the following irregularities performed by Dr. Kataska during the surgery. Dr. Kataska stated, "Let's see if I can find a reason to take the left tube." Dr. Kataska removed the plaintiff's left fallopian tube and the left ovary, despite the plaintiff's wishes and the signed consent form. Dr. Save and the registered nurse present reminded Dr. Kataska that the plaintiff did not consent to the removal of the left fallopian tube and the left ovary. Dr. Kataska also queried her husband on whether he would be seeking a vasectomy. Dr. Kataska continuously mentioned that the plaintiff and her husband already had 3 children. Both the plaintiff and her husband indicated that they did not want, nor were they seeking, any form of permanent birth control. To the contrary, the plaintiff informed Dr. Kataska that she and her husband were considering having more children. APTN reached out to Dr. Andrew Kataska, who said he was unable to comment. However, a statement of defense had also been filed with the court. According to the statement of defense filed by Dr. Andrew Kataska, GNWT Health and Social Services Authority, as represented by the Commissioner of the NWT, Dr. Kataska acknowledges owing the plaintiff a duty of care, but denied he breached the standard of care required. Dr. Kataska states that he exercised appropriate medical judgment and made the determination to remove the left fallopian tube based on the circumstances and in the patient's best interests. The consent obtained from the plaintiff was, under the circumstances, fully informed. During the visit with the plaintiff, Dr. Kataska was assured by the plaintiff that she and her husband did not wish to have any more children, as she was 37 years of age and had 3 children already. The woman's lawyer, Stephen Cooper, says his client has suffered since the surgery.
She's struggling with the media coverage. She's struggling with the assault itself, as she sees it. And she's struggling with the fact that this has a permanent impact on an aspect of her life which was critical to her history, and her culture.
Today it's considered an act of cultural genocide.
This civil claim is separate from similar Southern class action lawsuits like that in Manitoba and Saskatchewan involving sterilization of Indigenous women. Cooper is also involved in a proposed class action lawsuit regarding Indigenous women sterilized without their informed consent in Alberta's public hospitals. He says the context of the case is crucial.
Is a history of doctors and a support structure and system which supported the sterilization by coercion or subterfuge of Indigenous women. Now, sometimes this was done with the knowledge of, but not the freely formed consent of patients of those doctors. And sometimes it was done more like we say this was done, which was the person is completely under, and in spite of and in the face of instructions otherwise.
Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
The body of an Indigenous woman missing from Saskatoon was discovered in Prince Albert earlier this week. Prince Albert police say it's a homicide. Leanne Sanders has that story.
Prince Albert police say they recovered the body of Taya Sinclair at a snow dump area on Tuesday. They say the body had been burned. The 24-year-old woman was a mother of 2 children. On social media, family members said she hadn't been seen since last Saturday, March 12th. In an emotional news release today, her family described her as a granddaughter, a mother, a child, and a dearly loved family member and friend. She was a warm person with a spirit, a heart, and a voice that was valuable to many people. An advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls is asking why Saskatoon police didn't make it public that Sinclair was missing.
Darlene Okamesom Seacott with Women Walking Together says cases like this look bad for police.
What is the good of advisory boards? What's the good of women's advisory boards in policing? If that's not working, are they even aware there's cases that are happening like this? It's always the front lines that are, have no money to do this work. But we're here for the families. We're here to, help them navigate a system that's half the time, maybe more than half the time, not fair to Indigenous people.
But Saskatoon police say it was too soon in the investigation to release that information to the public. The family is now raising money for funeral costs and says it will hold a news conference soon. Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
And the family of an Alberta woman is also in mourning after the death of a 21-year-old. Vigils were held in Lac La Biche for Tiana Janvier. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
Tavia Janvier says her daughter was loved by her family and the community of Lac La Biche, Alberta.
She was outgoing. No matter who it was, she would rather help out other people instead of herself, and she would come last. She's a up-spirited girl. Like she's one of a kind.
Tatiana Janvier lived at the family home. On the morning of March 9th, her mother says her daughter then went to town. No follow-up texts caused Tavia to worry. She reported her daughter missing to the RCMP.
She usually texts me during the day, letting me know where she is. I haven't had received a text from her that whole day.
On March 10th, Lac La Biche RCMP, responding to a report of a body found, went to a local residence and discovered Tatiana's body. Major Crimes was called in. RCMP say an autopsy was done and are awaiting results, and Tatiana's death is under investigation. There have been 2 vigils held for Tatiana to remember her. Tavia Janvier is looking for answers as to why her daughter died.
I don't want any other parent to go through this because it's not easy. It's not easy thing to go through.
She says her daughter's life was cut short.
I keep thinking every day she's going to walk through the door, but it's not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to bring my baby back.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Lac La Biche, Alberta.
In Manitoba, an Indigenous woman is proposing a class action against the provincial government over birth alerts. That's the practice of apprehending newborn babies because someone in the system suspects child abuse could occur. The woman's newborn was apprehended by social workers and police in 2019 from a hospital in Winnipeg. The incident was live streamed on social media. The baby was the subject of a birth alert. The woman says in her statement of claim that birth alerts are unlawful and cause significant harm. Manitoba stopped birth alerts in 2020. The province says they can't comment on matters before the courts. A similar lawsuit was filed in BC last fall. To Thunder Bay now, where the chair of the city's police services board is apologizing to the families whose loved ones' sudden deaths need to be re-examined. Kristen Oliver also says, despite previous reports, the board is not the focus of any of the ongoing investigations into the Thunder Bay Police Service and members of its administration.
It's the first time the board chair has spoken publicly and answered questions from the media since a confidential report was leaked to media, including APTN News. That report, submitted by a blended investigative team, found the sudden deaths of 14 Indigenous people warranted further investigation. Dozens of death investigations by Thunder Bay Police have now been called into question, almost all of them including Indigenous people.
I certainly feel for these families. They've been through a lot, and I know that the chief also stated the same thing. And when we look at the reinvestigations and the outcomes of these investigations, I think that these families have been, they continue to feel grief and sorrow because the closure just isn't there. And for that, I sincerely apologize that families are experiencing this continuous sense of the reinvestigations.
The OPP has launched a criminal investigation into unnamed members of the police service. The Ontario Civilian Police Commission has announced an investigation into high-ranking members. Oliver says the Thunder Bay Police Services Board is not under any investigation.
We have had it confirmed through our lawyer that the board is not part of the OCPC investigation. We're not included in the terms of reference. But if you also recognize in the terms of reference, it does make note that they could change. At this point, though, we have no reason to believe that the board will be under investigation.
The police board chair there also says she doesn't agree with the calls being made to disband the Thunder Bay Police Service. You can read much more on this story over on our website, aptnnews.ca. In Manitoba, 2 incidents of alleged racial profiling by police took place over the last few weeks. One involved a respected elder from up north. The other, a man doing his job outside a Winnipeg hotel. Here again, Daryl Stranger.
A trip to pick up furniture from the Brick by a respected elder in Manitoba's north did not go as planned. Edwin Beardy says he was told the bed he bought in February was ready for pickup, so he made the 2-hour drive from Tatasquia Cree Nation to Thompson. But when he arrived, he was told bed parts were not in. He asked for and received a refund instead of waiting. He was shocked by what happened next.
A man came behind the desk and then he started walking away. He said, "Come back when you're sober. You're drunk. Come back when you're sober," he told me. So I said, "What? I don't even drink. I did throw from Split Lake to get here." No, you're drunk. Come back when you're sober," he said.
RCMP said they got a call about a possible impaired driver and a man causing a disturbance at a business. The driver was given an ASD-approved screening device, and the result was a 0 reading. The file was concluded. Beardy has a condition called Kennedy's disease, which he says weakens his facial muscles and lower body.
Well, what I had to do was kind of hold my face lip area in order to blow. I did blow it, managed to blow into the breathalyzer. And then we waited. And then the RCMP said it's reading 0. And then they left.
Staff of the Brick in Thompson are supposed to give Beardy a formal apology and take cross-cultural training. There was another incident in Winnipeg. Junior Cochran is an ambassador for the First Nations Health and Social Secretariat. He was on patrol outside a Winnipeg hotel when he was stopped and questioned by police. Now, they said Cochran fit the description of someone who assaulted the hotel manager. He reached for his phone, but he said officers reached for their guns, so he put his hands up.
I was trying to reach for my phone, and then the officers were getting ready to put their unholster their firearms. And then I just put my hands up and I was like, I'm just trying to grab my phone. And they said, don't move. And then they took everything out of my pockets and they asked what I was doing there. And I told them I was working and I was on patrol, and they didn't believe me.
He said they put 2 sets of handcuffs on him and put him in the back of a police car. They also asked how much he had been drinking. He said he was not and reiterated he was working.
He went in with his partner, and then they came back out, and then there was a couple more officers with them, and then he let me out and handcuffed me. He says, "Oh, I guess you're free to go. We have the wrong guy." And I was like, "Yeah, I told you had the wrong guy." And then a female officer with dark hair, she came up and she apologized to me, and I was like, "Thank you. I accept your apology." And I was pretty upset at the other officers, and I didn't say anything else. I just went inside, and I wanted to leave after that. I didn't want to be at the building. I was pretty upset about it.
Cochran has filed a report with the Law Enforcement Review Agency. Brenda Sanderson leads the Secretariat's Turtle team. Founded in 2021, the team provides various services, including cultural and family support for First Nations people.
Everyone was quite, shocked, completely taken aback. When we spoke about this later on, it was like a slap in the face for a group of people that have been working really hard and diligent throughout this pandemic time. And completely inappropriate, in my mind. And at first, my first thought was racial profiling. We were angry, we were hurt.
Sanderson said they reached out to the Winnipeg Police Service to invite them into a sharing circle, but were told the service was advised not to participate by their lawyers and union advisors. APTN News asked Winnipeg Police for comment, but were told they don't comment on matters before the Law Enforcement Review Agency. Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Time to step aside for a quick break. Coming up, a look at the impact of high gas prices on First Nations-owned gas stations. Welcome back. Here's a story we can all relate to: high gas prices. But how do these prices affect Indigenous-owned gas stations in Indigenous communities? APTN's Tamara Pimentel reports from the Siksika Territory in Alberta.
Mona Royal and her husband Daryl McDonald own M&R Gas and Boy Chief Trading Post on Siksika Nation. While the business has been a success over the past 20 years, they've taken a bit of a hit with skyrocketing gas prices and the pandemic.
Through COVID, we went through months where myself and Daryl, we didn't pay ourselves. We had to literally wait, until we were able to pay ourselves because my employees came first.
The gas price is really interfering with our community and our business. It's hard to compete with Petro, Shell, Esso. Where we draw our customers and our non-native customers is our friendliness.
But owning a gas station on reserve comes with its own struggles. As the station sees higher prices and fewer customers, Royal says the couple still has to keep up with all of the electrical and heating bills and insurance that costs more on a reserve too.
They assume that there'll be more break-ins, there'll be more damages, there'll be more, the everyday things that happen on the reserve will occur here. So we have a lot of insurance things that we have to deal with that maybe a non-native that's not on the reserve, they don't have to deal with it, but we do.
How is M&R preparing for more gas hikes?
There's really no way to prepare but to continue what we do, keep our employees happy, keep our customers happy, continue to create a nice gentle atmosphere here, continue to just be there for each other.
Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Siksika.
5 women from Tyendinaga Mohawk Territory in southern Ontario have many reasons to celebrate. They've made a huge contribution to women fleeing domestic violence and gained new skills along the way. Here's Annette Francis with that story.
1, 2, 3, go.
And just like that, with a few snips, these small homes are officially ready for occupancy. The 2 new buildings will offer a safe place for women in transition at the Red Cedar Shelter.
They need time to recover from the trauma and to find suitable housing for their families. And of course, that's quite a challenge now in this day and age because a lot of people that are on limited incomes are priced out of the housing market because there's such a shortage of housing. It's a chronic problem in every community. It's all across Canada. But it's profoundly an issue in First Nations communities.
But another important reason to celebrate the opening is these homes were built by women. The 6-month Heels to Work Boots project provided 5 women with the carpentry skills needed to complete every stage of building from the ground up. It's something that Tammy McGuire couldn't be more proud of.
It's amazing feeling that to know that I'm giving back to my community, that somebody else is going to enjoy this.
It's inspired Kirsten Sparks to look at a career in plumbing.
After here, I guess I would apply to companies and apply for an apprenticeship and do my 4 or 5 years of apprenticeship in plumbing, and then I would become a journeyman person.
According to the project manager, Chris Miracle, it was a great opportunity for all involved. He's already proposed a new project.
We're hoping that our chief and council will approve of the first phase of the very first First Nation tiny house development, which will be net zero standards. We have a responsibility as First Nations people to protect the environment. So if you build to net zero, there's not much more you can do from the housing standpoint to reduce the energy consumption. By having that many more ladies on site, I don't see any reason why in a couple of years we won't have one of these ladies start their own general contracting business.
McGuire says she's hopeful too.
I would like to stay with the program and help with the tiny homes as long as they are willing to.
According to Tyendinaga's chief, Don Miracle, plans to expand the project and build more tiny homes is currently under discussion. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Tyendinaga.
We've got to step aside for another break. Coming up, we'll check in on an Inuit film festival happening in Ottawa. Stick around. Welcome back. An Inuit Film Festival premiered this week in Ottawa. 6 short films use various forms of media to get their point across, and they were broadcast outside the National Arts Centre for all of the public to see. APTN's Fraser Needham has that story.
In English, the film festival's name means lighting up the world with my knowledge. Echo Hanash's film uses hand-drawn animation to show a fierce polar bear turned to stone by a shaman. Megan Kayak Monteith's Large Feast on a Bed of Cardboard uses both paint and computer animation. And Nunavik artist Asiniak 3000 uses video and computer animation to look at Inuit life past, present, and future. Asiniak is also the curator of the festival.
As for what holds all of them together, I think that they're films that are grounded at their most core place in love and in celebrating of our culture.
She says one of the advantages of the festival is that it is being broadcast outside on the NAC's exterior. The Inuit Film Festival runs every night, Wednesday to Sunday, in the nation's capital. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Some cool looking films there. Well, that's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this weekend. For news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.